Hello and welcome back. In this video I'll be sharing how to make this trendy bubu design with side pockets. Now if this is something you're interested in learning, you want to keep on watching up to the end of this video. Now these are all the items you need. I have 3 yards of Ankara print fabric here. I have my chinox fabric as well as paper stay. You want to fold your fabric into 4 like this. Now the way this is folded, the shoulder has a fold as well as the center front and the center back. So I'm folding this into 4 and we'll be cutting the front and the back the same way. So you can see that all the frayed edges are on the sides and the bottom. This is because I do not like to join the shoulders of my bubu, hence why I ensured that the shoulder has a fold. So I'm going to mark half of my shoulder width, which is 8 inches. Then the neckline for this would be 3.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches deep, and that is what I have marked out now. Next up, I'm going to be taking my body lines, which is my shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, as well as shoulder to hip measurement, and the length of the garment as well. So I decided to go with 40 inches for the length, which is what I wanted. Then I added 2 extra inches for hemming allowance. So just use your preferred length and ensure to add hemming allowance to the bottom. Haven't marked all my body points. What I'll be doing next is to take a quarter of my body measurement plus 2.5 inches. So whatever a quarter of your body measurement is, you want to ensure to add 2.5 inches. Now I'm adding 2.5 inches because I do not want it to be too big, but if you want it bigger, feel free to add more to the body measurement. Now from that 2.5 inches, I'll be using ½ inch for seam. So the actual allowance that I'll be adding here is 2 inches. The ½ inch would be for seam. Then I'm just going to connect all those points together and mark out the body lines like this. Now to make the sleeves, from the end of that shoulder line, I'm going to mark out the length of the sleeve and connect it to that bust point line, which is here. Then I'm going to come up where that line meets the bust line by 1 inch and connect it to my body measurement. So it should curve out like this. Now I'm using my bust line as a guide because I feel like when you go lower than your bust line, it tends to be very revealing around the armhole area. I cut out the armhole as well as notch the shoulder line, and I'm going to cut out the entire garment, and this is what it looks like. Now do note that this is the front and the back plan here, so when you open it up it should look like this. So what we'll be doing next is to modify the front neckline to suit the design that we're going for. And to do this, you'll be separating the front from the back like this. Then you are going to be folding it into 2 along the length. Now do note that you are folding into 2 along the length after separating the front from the back. So you are just going to fold like this. Just see what I'm doing and I'm sure you understand. Separate it like this and fold into 2. So this is the front, this is the front here. So you can see this is the back and the other corner there is the sleeve. So that's the sleeve area. When you fold it along the length, it should look something like this. So what I'm going to do now is to create the front neckline. And to do this, remember that notch area we made at the shoulder here while cutting the neckline. I'm just going to pin it together just so it stays in place. Then from that point, I'm going to mark the depth of the neckline for the front, and I'm working with 10 inches, and that is what I'm marking out. Then from the center fold, I'm going in by ½ inch. So from that ½ inch line, I'm going to connect it to that notch point at the shoulder and cut it out, and that would be the neckline for the front. Now if you are still watching up to this hour and you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe and join the family, okay? Also give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it so far. So when you cut out the front neckline, this is what it should look like. You can see the front neckline is somewhat like a V shape. Then the back is a normal round neck. So you want to notch the midpoint of the back neckline because you'll be using that as a guide. Now I'm going to measure the entire perimeter of the neckline, and this will be to make my collar stand. After measuring, I had a total length of 34 inches. Then I cut out a strap that is 37 inches long and 5 inches wide. Now I'm using 5 inches because this would be 2.5 inches on fold. Now to make the badge or the center front design that will be on the front, I want a width of 10 inches and a length. To make the design on the front, I want a width of 10 inches and a length of 12 inches. So that is what I am marking out now. So I'm just going to cut this out. and fold it into two like this. So when you fold into two, from one end I'm going to come up by 3 inches, then from the center fold I'm going to come out by 1 inch, then connect those points together and cut it out. Now when cutting, you're cutting on one side, not on both folds. You're cutting on just one side of the fabric. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing on the opposite end of the material. So one is going to be at the top right, the other is going to be at the bottom left. So when cutting, you want to cut just on one, and when you open it up, it should look something like this. I'm just going to iron paper stay onto the wrong side of this badge as well as the collar of the garment. You can make this badge whatever shape you desire, just do what your preference is. Now after ironing paper stay onto the wrong side of the collar, this is what it looks like. I made a stop stitch and I notched the midpoint. Now I'm going to align the notch point of the back neckline to the notch point of the collar, and I'm just going to pin it down the entire neckline from end to end, round the entire neckline, before going ahead to sew it. So you're just going to ensure that you pin. Now when pinning, you don't want to drag the collar or drag your fabric. You want to ensure that they are both relaxed, and this is what it looks like. I pinned on the right side of the fabric so that when you sew, the seams would be on the reverse side, which is the wrong side. So I'm going to stitch all the way around, and this is what we have. I gave it a good press to relax all the seams. All right, for the front design, I equally iron paper stay onto the wrong side, and I use my iron to fold in the edges just so it's easier to fold. Then I'm just going to place that over the top of the bottom part of the neckline like this. So you want to ensure that the badge covers that point where the collar overlaps each other. So I pinned all the way around like this. You can see that this point overlaps the collar, and that is what you have, or that is what you want to have. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch all the way around with a stop stitch, and it should look like this when you're done. So what I'll be doing next is to make the pockets for this dress, and you'll be needing 4 individual pieces of fabric. I'm going to measure a length that is 7.5 and a width of 10 inches for the pocket. Then I'm going to create a curve from the edge to that 7.5 inch and curve it out like this, and cut out the excess fabric. So when you're cutting, you want it to be equal on all pieces. All right, after cutting, I'm going to create a slant on the bottom edge of the pocket, and to do this, you're going to go in by maybe 1.5 to 1 inch. So this would make the pocket sit a lot nicer at the bottom when you sew it down. You can see that I have 4 individual pieces of this. Now I'm going to show you guys where to attach it. I'm using 18 inches to start the pocket. Now if you're not so tall, you can use 17 inches, but I'm using 18 inches. You just want to notch that 18 inches mark. Then place your pocket, one piece of your pocket, right sides facing, on one side of the garment. Now when doing this, you want to ensure that the longer part is at the notch point, while the shorter part is at the end of the pocket. So I'm going to place one at the front and the other at the back, right sides facing. So you want to do it one on each side of the garment. So you're going to have one on the back and one on the front, and I'll be repeating the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to stitch that down on both sides, and it should look something like this when you're done stitching. Now do note you have the same thing on the other side of the garment. I went ahead to fold the hem of the sleeves as well. So let me show you guys how to take the measurement and join the sides of this dress. Now when joining this, I'm not going to be joining a straight line as though I was making a straight dress because of the pockets. So what I'll be doing is I'll be sewing from the armhole up to the start of this pocket by half an inch. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch at the top of that pocket like this. Then at the bottom part of the pocket, I'm also going to come up by 1 inch. So just see what I'm doing. I went down by 1 inch and I went up at the bottom by 1 inch. So just see what I'm doing. So I'm going to sew from this point up to that 1 inch line here. Then I'm going to come into the pocket and sew a curved line like this. Just see what I'm doing. So when I sew, I'll sew from here up to this 1 inch mark. Then I'll bring the stitch inside the pocket like this to meet up with that 1 inch line that is at the bottom of the pocket before taking it down the hem. Okay, so do note that when you're bringing the seam into your pocket, you want to ensure that you maintain the same seam allowance. So if you are joining by 1 inch from the top here, when you are coming out from your pocket, you want to ensure that you come out by half an inch or whatever measurement you use. It should be equal. So this is what the pocket looks like. You can see that it's hidden, it is nice. So this is what the pocket looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and hem the bottom and show you guys the final look. So don't know that whatever I did on this side, I did on the opposite side of the dress as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and hem the bottom of this dress, of this bubu, and this is what the final look is. It looks really nice, really comfortable. I've never owned an Ankara bubu before. This is like my first time, and I loved how it came out. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. Do give it a thumbs up if you learned something or enjoyed the video. Leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already.